The morning sun was already hot when Ada stepped off the rickety bus into the big city. She had just one small bag and 2,000 naira in her pocket. The air smelled of smoke, fuel, and roasted plantain. Her heart beat fast, not from fear, but from something deeper. Hope and desperation. She had come from Umuchika, a dusty village where the days were slow, and hunger was a visitor in every home. Her father had died when she was 15. Her mother was blind in one eye. Her 2 younger brothers still needed school fees. She was the firstborn. She had to make something happen. Auntie Nkechi, her mother's cousin, had promised her a housemaid job in the city. "You'll clean, cook, and stay quiet. That's all," the woman had said on the phone. "The man you'll work for is rich, but he doesn't talk much. Don't get in his way." Ada nodded now as she stood outside a tall black gate. She had never seen a house this big. It had high fences, cameras, and flowers that smelled like money. She pressed the buzzer with shaking hands. The gate opened slowly. "Who are you?" the security man asked. "I'm Ada. Auntie Nkechi sent me. I'm the new maid." He looked at her from head to toe, frowned, then made a call. After a few minutes, the gate rolled open, and he let her in. The compound looked like a hotel. The building was white, glassy, and too quiet. A tall man in a black suit stepped out of the main house. His face was cold, his steps sharp. "You're the girl?" he asked. "Yes, sir." He didn't smile. "Fine. Rules are simple. No noise. No drama. No questions. Do your work. That's it." Ada bowed her head. "Yes, sir." She didn't know it yet, but that man was Emeka Okafor, the CEO of Okafor Group, one of the richest men in the country. And her life was about to change forever. Ada followed the man inside the mansion. Her slippers made small sounds on the polished floor. The living room looked like a palace, glass tables, soft white sofas, and a golden chandelier that sparkled even in the daytime. She had never seen anything so grand. "This is where you'll sleep," the man said, pointing to a small room beside the kitchen. "You start tomorrow at 6 a.m. sharp. Clean the house. Don't touch anything else." Ada nodded. "Yes, sir." He gave her one last look, then walked up the stairs, leaving her alone. She sat on the small bed in her new room. There was no fan, no window, and only one old mattress. But she was grateful. At least she had a roof over her head. The next morning, she started work before the sun rose. She swept the big compound, cleaned the marble floor, wiped the windows, and arranged the cushions. Everything had to be spotless. The CEO didn't say much, but he noticed everything. One day, as she scrubbed the stairs, she heard loud voices from upstairs. "You don't control me," a woman shouted. "You're always asking for more," Anita, the CEO, barked. "I deserve more. You owe me." Then, crash. Something broke. Ada froze. Moments later, the woman stormed out of the house. She was tall, beautiful, and angry. She walked past Ada without a word and slammed the front door. Emeka came down the stairs slowly. His jaw was tight, his eyes dark. "Clean that up," he said, pointing to broken glass. "Yes, sir." Ada swept the floor gently, but her mind raced. Was that his wife? His girlfriend? Why did they fight? From that day, the CEO barely spoke. He came home late, always with tired eyes. But he noticed Ada's work. She never missed a spot. She never asked questions. One night, rain fell hard. The roof of the maid's room leaked, and cold water dripped on her bed. She curled in a corner, shivering. At midnight, the door opened. "You're sleeping in water?" the CEO asked, shocked. Ada sat up, frightened. "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't want to disturb you." He stared for a while, then turned. "Come," he said. She followed him upstairs, unsure of what was happening. He opened a guest room with a soft bed and clean sheets. "Sleep here tonight," he said quietly. Then he left. That night, Ada didn't sleep well, but not because of fear. Her heart was confused. The cold CEO had shown her kindness. And something inside her had shifted. The next morning, Ada woke up in the guest room. The bed was so soft that it felt like she was floating. Sunlight streamed in through white curtains. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she remembered, she was a maid in the house of a powerful man. She quickly folded the sheets, cleaned the bathroom, and ran downstairs to start her chores. She expected the CEO to be angry that she'd slept in a guest room, even though he allowed it. But when he came down, he didn't shout. "You slept well?" he asked, without looking at her. "Yes, sir," she said softly. He nodded once and walked out the door. Days passed. Ada continued to work hard. She never complained. She smiled at the guards, thanked the cook, and kept to herself. Emeka noticed. One evening, after a long day, he sat in the living room and watched her mop the floor. "You clean like someone who's been through pain," he said suddenly. Ada froze. No one had ever said something like that to her. She looked up slowly. "Life hasn't been easy." He said nothing, just looked into his glass of wine. Then he asked, "What's your story?" Ada didn't know whether to speak or stay silent. But something in his voice felt real. "My father died when I was 15. Mama is half blind. I dropped out of school to take care of my brothers. This job is the only way I can help them." Emeka sat back in his chair. So young, yet carrying so much. Ada nodded. He stood and walked away. But that night, for the first time, she heard music coming from his room, slow, sad music. Something was changing. In both of them. The next weekend, Emeka didn't go to work. He stayed in his study most of the day, staring at his laptop, phone, and sometimes just the wall. Ada cleaned quietly, not wanting to disturb him. Later in the afternoon, he came out holding a photo frame. His eyes were red, like he hadn't slept. "Can I ask you something?" he said. Ada nodded, surprised. "Have you ever trusted someone, and they destroyed you?" She thought for a moment, then said, "Yes. A friend I helped ran away with my last money." He nodded like he understood deeply. "This woman. Anita. I was going to marry her," he said, holding up the photo. "She left." Ada asked softly. "She used me. For money, gifts, position. When I asked her to stop seeing another man, she said I was too controlling. Then she left." Ada looked at the photo. The woman was beautiful, but there was something cold in her smile. "I'm sorry, sir," she whispered. He looked at Ada. "Why are you sorry? You didn't do it. Because you still feel pain." That night, he didn't go upstairs. He sat in the living room until late, talking. Ada listened, quietly offering him water and later a blanket. He didn't push her away. In that silence, something fragile began to form, something like trust. Days passed. They spoke more often. He asked about her village, her brothers, what she wanted in life. "I want to be a nurse," she said one evening. He nodded. "You'd be good at that." She smiled, the first real smile in weeks. And he saw it, the light in her eyes, the strength behind it. For the first time in a long time, Emeka laughed. It wasn't loud. But it was real. A few days later, Emeka invited Ada to sit with him on the balcony after dinner. The sky was full of stars, and the breeze carried the scent of hibiscus flowers from the garden. "You always sit alone," Ada said, her voice soft. "I'm used to it," Emeka replied. "People only come close when they want something." "Maybe not everyone," Ada said. He looked at her, surprised by her words. "You're different," he said. "You don't pretend. You don't beg. You just show up." Ada didn't know what to say. She looked away, her cheeks warm. "Why nursing?" he asked. "I like to help people. When Papa was sick, I felt useless. If I had known what to do, maybe he'd still be alive." Emeka nodded slowly. "That's a good reason." Silence stretched between them, comfortable now. The next morning, something even more surprising happened. "Ada," Emeka said, just before he left for work, "can you bring my lunch to the office today?" She blinked. "Me? Yes. My staff knows you're the maid. It's fine." He handed her a note with the address. When she arrived later that day, dressed simply in a clean blouse and long skirt, the receptionist gave her a strange look. But Ada stood tall. "I'm here to deliver Mr. Emeka's lunch," she said. The woman scoffed but let her in. Upstairs, Emeka was on a call. He waved her in and pointed to the table. She set the food down and turned to leave. "Wait," he said after ending the call. "Eat with me." Her heart skipped. "Sir, I can't. I'm just." "You're not just anything." He pulled out a chair. So she Saturday. They ate in silence, but there was peace in it. She didn't know what was happening between them. But it was happening fast. And she wasn't sure if she should hold on or run. That night, Ada couldn't sleep. She turned from side to side on her small mattress in the maid's room. Even though Emeka had offered her the guest room again, she had gently refused. Her heart was confused. Something was changing between them, and she didn't want to get too comfortable. He was her boss. She was just the maid. Still, she couldn't forget how he looked at her at the office, like she was someone worth seeing. The next day, as she cleaned the kitchen, she heard the front door open and shut loudly. Emeka's voice was raised, talking on the phone. "I said no. I'm not changing my mind again. I'm done." He walked into the kitchen without seeing her and threw his phone on the table. His hands were shaking. "Sir, is everything okay?" Ada asked gently. He turned, surprised. For a moment, he said nothing. Then he looked away, as if ashamed. "My ex. She's threatening to post lies about me online if I don't give her money." Ada's eyes widened. "That's blackmail." "I know," he muttered. "But she has pictures. Messages. She can twist them. She's trying to destroy your name." "Yes. And I'm tired." Ada stepped closer. "Then fight with truth. You don't owe her anything. Don't let her use fear." He looked at her, really looked at her. "You speak with so much strength for someone who has suffered. Suffering teaches you how to survive." A silence grew between them, thick with unspoken words. Then, suddenly, Emeka reached out and touched her hand. Gently. As if afraid it would break. "Ada. I don't know what this is between us. But I feel safe with you." Her heart pounded. "I don't want to break your heart," he said. She looked into his eyes and whispered, "Then don't try to own it. Just hold it." And in that moment, they both knew. Something deeper than friendship had begun. But with love comes danger. And not everyone was ready to see a CEO fall for a maid. The next week was like walking on a tightrope. Ada continued her duties, cleaning, cooking, washing, just like before. But every glance from Emeka now held something soft, something warm. And each time their fingers brushed or their eyes met, her heart skipped like a child playing in the rain. But not everyone in the house was blind to what was happening. One of the guards, Jude, had been watching. He had worked for Emeka for 5 years, and he had never seen his boss look at any woman the way he looked at Ada. One evening, Jude cornered her near the water tank. "So, you think you've found yourself a golden ladder, eh?" he said with a sneer. Ada blinked. "Excuse me? Don't pretend. I see how he looks at you. Just remember, maids come and go. Don't lose your job thinking you're special." Ada's face went cold. "I never asked for anything. I'm just doing my work." Jude laughed. "Keep telling yourself that." He walked away, whistling, leaving her heart heavy. Later that night, Emeka noticed something was wrong. "You're quiet," he said as they sat on the balcony. Ada hesitated, then told him everything. "I'm sorry," she ended, her voice tight. "I didn't want to bring trouble." Emeka's face turned hard. "He threatened you?" "No. He just reminded me of my place." Emeka stood. "Your place? You don't belong to anyone's idea of place. If anyone treats you with disrespect again, they're out." The next morning, Jude was gone. Ada felt a strange mix of guilt and protection. But that was just the beginning. By the weekend, whispers had started among Emeka's business partners. They noticed his change in behavior, the softness in his tone, the smile that returned. And then came Anita. She showed up at the mansion in a red dress and dark sunglasses. "I want to speak with Emeka," she told the guard. Ada saw her from the window and froze. That woman was back. And she wasn't smiling. The past was knocking again. And this time, it wanted war. Emeka stood at the front door, arms folded, watching Anita like she was a shadow he thought he had already chased away. "What do you want?" he asked. Anita removed her sunglasses slowly, her eyes sharp. "You didn't answer my calls. So I came in person." Ada stood behind the curtain, peeking from the hallway. She couldn't hear everything, but the tension in the air was heavy, almost choking. Anita stepped closer. "Is it true? You've replaced me with your maid?" Emeka's face didn't move. "That's none of your business." "Oh, but it is," she said, laughing coldly. "You think the world won't talk? A CEO dating a house girl? It's already spreading. The press will eat it up." Emeka's voice was calm but firm. "I'm not ashamed of her." Ada's heart skipped. Anita's eyes narrowed. "You always had a weakness for broken things, Emeka. But don't forget, I know you. And I know how to destroy you." He stared at her. "I'm not the same man you used to manipulate." "Good," she smirked. "Because the old one was too soft." She walked past him, brushing his shoulder, then stopped. "To the maid, tell her to be careful. Glass slippers break." With that, she walked away, heels clicking like gunshots on the tiles. Emeka closed the door slowly. He knew Ada had heard everything. She stepped out quietly, her face pale. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she said. "I know. She'll ruin your name." He walked toward her. "Let her try. I've been silent for too long. But not anymore." He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "I care about you, Ada. And I don't want to hide it." Tears filled her eyes, but she blinked them away. "I'm just scared." "So am I," he whispered. That night, he sent a press release from his office. It didn't name Ada, but it made it clear, he was seeing someone not from his world, and he didn't care what society thought. The story broke the next morning. And the world responded with fire. The headlines came like a flood. Billionaire CEO in secret romance with Maid. Okafor's shocking love story, house girl or gold digger? From mop to mansion, who is the girl who stole Emeka's heart? Ada's photo was nowhere, but whispers filled the city. Social media exploded with theories and insults. Some called it love. Others called it madness. But most didn't believe it was real. In the mansion, Ada kept her head down. She tried to work like nothing was happening, but inside, she was breaking. The cook, Mama Dora, gave her a side hug one morning. "Child, love doesn't ask permission. If he chose you, walk with your head up." Ada smiled weakly. But outside the mansion, trouble was growing. At a charity gala 2 nights later, Emeka stood in a crisp black suit, surrounded by flashing cameras. His board members looked tense. Investors whispered behind glasses of wine. Then one man stepped forward, Chief Otunba, an elder investor with power and pride. "Emeka," he said loudly, "is it true you've fallen for your maid?" Emeka raised his glass calmly. "It's true I've fallen for a woman who understands pain, loyalty, and hard work." Someone clapped slowly. Then more joined. But not everyone smiled. Later that night, as Emeka returned home, his phone buzzed. It was his mother. "I heard the news," she said, voice tight. "You must be joking." "I'm not, Mama." "Then you've disgraced our family. Bringing in a nobody? A village girl? Mama, she's more than you think. She will destroy you." "No, Mama. She saved me." The call ended in silence. When he entered the house, Ada was sitting on the stairs. "I heard the call," she said. "Maybe I should go." He knelt beside her. "If I lose everyone but still have you, I'll be fine." Tears rolled down her cheeks. But as they hugged, neither of them knew that someone else was already watching. Someone who had been paid to make sure Ada disappeared. Not just from the house, but from Emeka's life forever. It was past midnight when a knock came at the kitchen door. Ada was washing the last of the plates, humming a soft tune to calm her nerves. The noise startled her. No one used the back door at night. She wiped her hands and opened the curtains slightly. A young man in delivery clothes stood there holding a parcel. "For Mr. Emeka," he said. "But it's late," Ada replied. "He said it was urgent." She hesitated, then unlocked the door halfway to take the parcel. That's when the man pushed hard. Ada stumbled back. Before she could scream, he grabbed her wrist and whispered fiercely, "One sound and I'll make sure you disappear quietly." Fear clutched her throat. "Who sent you?" she managed to ask. He smirked. "People who don't like poor girls dreaming too big." He reached into his pocket, but before he could do more, a loud voice thundered behind them. "Step away from her." It was Emeka, standing at the kitchen entrance in a white singlet and trousers, his eyes burning. The man turned to run, but two guards burst in through the other side. They pinned him to the ground. Emeka rushed to Ada. "Are you okay? Did he touch you?" She was shaking, but she nodded. "I'm okay." Later that night, the police arrived. The man was arrested. They found a knife in his pocket. He had been paid in cash to scare her away, make it look like a robbery. Emeka sat beside her on the couch, his hands holding hers tightly. "I should have known this would happen," he said, his voice heavy with guilt. "People like to protect their world, even if it means hurting others." "I'm not afraid," Ada said, her voice quiet but steady. "You should be. But I'm not." He looked at her, eyes full of pain and something deeper, love. "I don't want to lose you, Ada." "Then don't push me away," she whispered. And he didn't. The next morning, he made a decision. He called a press conference not to defend himself, but to introduce Ada to the world. Not as his maid, but as the woman he loved. The press conference hall was packed. Journalists, bloggers, investors, even gossip columnists squeezed into the space, all holding cameras, microphones, and curiosity. Whispers filled the air like smoke before a fire. Emeka walked in wearing a dark blue suit, calm and confident. Ada followed slowly behind, her long skirt sweeping the floor, her hair wrapped neatly in a soft blue scarf. She wore no makeup, no jewelry, just her truth. When the cameras flashed, she didn't look down. She looked straight ahead. Emeka stepped to the microphone. "Thank you all for coming," he began. "I know there have been rumors. Some are true. Some are foolish. But today, I want to speak for myself." He paused, then turned to Ada. "This is Ada. She started in my house as a maid. Quiet, hardworking, invisible to many. But to me, she became the one person who saw me. Not my money. Not my name. Just me." Gasps and murmurs ran through the crowd. He continued, voice firm. "I will not be ashamed to say I love her. And no amount of wealth or power will stop me from honoring her." Ada's hands trembled slightly, but Emeka reached for her, held them tight, and faced the crowd together. One journalist stood up. "Sir, do you understand what this means for your image?" Emeka smiled. "If my image cannot carry truth, then it's not worth saving." Another reporter asked Ada, "How do you feel, being here?" She took the mic slowly. Her voice was soft, but clear. "I didn't ask for this. I just wanted to help my family. I didn't plan to fall in love with anyone. But when someone sees your pain, and doesn't run away, that's a rare gift." Cameras flashed again. Some smiled. Some frowned. But no one looked away. That night, social media broke into two. Half cheered the love story from different worlds. Half spat fire, calling her a gold digger. But one thing was clear. Ada was no longer invisible. And love had taken center stage. But in the shadows, someone else was watching. And they were not ready to let this story end in joy. The morning after the press conference, Ada's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Numbers she didn't recognize kept calling. Some wanted interviews. Others sent cruel messages. "You're just lucky. Don't forget your place. Sleep your way up, Maid. How much did you pay to catch a billionaire?" Ada tried to ignore them, but the words stung. Her chest felt heavy. She sat in the garden, hoping the flowers and quiet would calm her heart. But her peace was short-lived. Memon Kechi, her mother's cousin, the same woman who brought her to the city, marched through the gate, her face twisted with rage. "So it's true," she shouted. "You're sleeping with your ogre?" "Memon Kechi, please," Ada said, standing quickly. "It's not like that. You're a disgrace. I brought you here to work, not to open your legs for rich men." Ada's eyes filled with tears. It's not what you think. What I think. Mimon Kechi spat on the ground. You've embarrassed the whole family. Do you know how people are laughing at us in Umuchika? Emeka stepped out of the house just then. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. Madam, that's enough, he said. Mimon Kechi turned to him. Stay out of this. But Emeka walked straight to her. No. I won't. Because you're not helping her, you're hurting her. And if this is what family means to you, then she's better without it. Ada gasped. Mimon Kechi stared at them for a moment, then hissed, You'll regret this. She stormed out of the gate, leaving silence behind. Emeka turned to Ada, but her face was pale, her body trembling. I didn't ask for this, she whispered. I didn't want this kind of attention. I just wanted a job. A quiet life. A little peace. Emeka touched her shoulder gently. Then we'll find peace. Together. I promise. But peace was still far away. Because the next day, someone leaked private photos of Ada and Emeka, photos taken inside the mansion. The betrayal had come from inside. And the damage was just beginning. The photos spread like wildfire. On blogs, on gossip pages, on late-night news. Grainy but clear enough Ada and Emeka in the kitchen, laughing. Another of Emeka touching her cheek. One even showed them holding hands on the balcony. Though innocent, the headlines twisted the story. Housemaid seduces CEO with charm and cheap love. Okafor Empire now a soap opera. She cleaned his house, now she's cleaning his bank account. Ada stared at her phone in shock. Her hands were numb. Her knees felt weak. She dropped the phone and ran into her room, locked the door, and cried into her pillow until her throat hurt. Emeka burst in minutes later, panic on his face. Ada, I just saw it. Listen to me. She turned to him, her face wet. Who took those pictures? I don't know yet. But I'll find out. I trusted this house. I trusted everyone. Now the whole world sees me as a joke. You are not a joke, he said, kneeling beside her. You're the strongest person I've ever met. She looked away. They're calling me a thief. A user. A cleaner with dirty plans. I'll sue them all if I have to. But what if they never stop? He pulled her into a hug, one hand cradling the back of her head. Then we fight together. Every day if we must. That night, Emeka ordered a full security sweep of the mansion. Cameras, phones, staff. By morning, they found it. One of the kitchen cleaners, bribed by Anita's lawyer, had planted a small camera. He confessed everything. Anita had paid him 500,000 naira for the footage. Emeka was furious. He fired 3 staff on the spot and called his lawyer to press charges. But the damage was done. Ada couldn't step outside without stares or whispers. Even the market women who once smiled at her now murmured behind her back. She began to doubt everything. Her love. Her place in Emeka's world. And her future. One evening, while Emeka was on a business trip, Ada quietly packed her things and left. It rained the night Ada disappeared. Heavy, angry rain that pounded the roof and drowned the stars. When Emeka returned from his trip, soaked and tired, he knew something was wrong the moment he stepped into the house. The air was too quiet. The hallway too empty. Ada, he called out. No answer. He rushed to her room, clean, swept, empty. Her few clothes were gone. Her slippers were missing. Even the small photo of her family that she kept by her bed was no longer there. He stood frozen, staring at the space where she once slept. She was gone. His heart dropped. He called her phone, switched off. He called the cook. The guards. No one had seen her leave. Panic gripped him. He went through her drawer, desperate for a clue. And then he found something, tucked under a folded wrapper. A small envelope. Inside was a note. I love you, Emeka. But this love is too heavy for me to carry. Every look, every whisper, every headline feels like a knife. Maybe in another life, we could be happy without the world watching. I'll always pray for you. Please don't look for me. His hands trembled. He sat on the floor, reading the note again and again, as if the words would change. But they didn't. Ada was gone. For 2 days, he didn't go to work. He cancelled meetings. Ignored calls. The house felt empty, too big, too cold. Every room held a memory of her smile, her voice, her laugh. He checked bus stations. Called her cousin in the village. Sent people to search. Nothing. Then came a storm of news headlines. Ada leaves billionaire CEO, real love or fear of exposure? Cinderella runs away. But where is her slipper? Sources say CEO has shut down over Maid's sudden exit. They mocked him. But he didn't care. He didn't want the world. He just wanted her. One morning, he stood on the balcony, staring at the sunrise, and whispered, "Come back to me, Ada. I don't care how long it takes. I'll wait." And far away, in a small town nobody knew, Ada sat in a tiny room, holding her stomach, whispering to herself, "I miss you too." And beneath her hand, new life was quietly beginning to grow. 3 months passed. Ada stayed in a quiet town called Ikenna, far from the noise of the city. She lived in a small room behind a church, where the pastor's wife gave her food in exchange for helping with cleaning and sewing. She didn't talk much. She wore loose clothes to hide her growing belly. And she told no one about the man who owned her heart. Every night, she sat by the window, hands resting on her stomach, whispering stories to the tiny life inside her. "Your father is strong," she would say. "And kind. He sees people others ignore. He gave me courage and love." But tears would always follow. Because no matter how many times she told herself she made the right decision, her heart still ached like an open wound. Meanwhile, in Lagos, Emeka was a ghost of himself. His beard grew out. His suits hung loose on his shoulders. He stopped attending board meetings. Shareholders were worried. But he didn't care. He had hired private investigators, paid informants, visited villages. Still no sign of her. His mother called again. "You've done enough. Let the girl go." But he only replied, "I can't." One evening, he visited the orphanage his company sponsored. A small boy tugged his hand and asked, "Why are you sad, uncle?" Emeka smiled sadly. "Because someone I love is far away." The child looked at him and said, "Then go and find her." The next morning, Emeka resumed the search. This time, not as a CEO, but as a man with nothing to lose. He went back to Umuchika, to the dusty roads and red earth where Ada's story began. He found her blind mother sitting outside a clay house, weaving a mat. She turned her head slightly. "Who is there?" "My name is Emeka. I'm looking for Ada." The old woman's hands froze. "I knew you would come," she said softly. Emeka knelt down before her. "Please, Mama. I need to find her. I love her." She smiled, tears sliding down her empty eyes. "She's hiding because she thinks she's protecting you." "From what?" "From pain. From shame. From this world." Then she placed her hand on his. "She's not far. But you must go with your heart, not your pride. Only then will you find her." That night, Emeka sat alone under the stars, the same stars Ada used to love. And for the first time in months, he felt hope. Because love, real love, never hides forever. The next morning, Emeka followed a new lead. An old woman at the village well mentioned hearing of a quiet girl with long braids staying in a church compound near Ikenna town. She didn't know her name, but the way she described her voice, her eyes, her gentle nature. Emeka knew. It was her. He drove for 5 hours straight, through potholes and dusty paths, barely stopping to drink water. His heart beat faster with every mile, his fingers gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping him from falling apart. By afternoon, he reached the town. Small. Peaceful. The kind of place that kept secrets. He stopped in front of the small church and stepped out of the car. He wore a simple shirt, jeans, no guards, no driver. Just a man searching for the woman who held his heart. "Good afternoon," he greeted a woman sweeping the churchyard. She looked up, eyes squinting. "Can I help you?" "I'm looking for someone. Her name is Ada. She used to work in Lagos." The woman studied him, then said slowly, "Follow me." They walked past the small chapel to a narrow corridor behind it. And there, sitting on a wooden bench, Holding a cup of pap and talking to a young girl was Ada. Her back was turned. Her braids fell down her back like soft ropes. "Someone is here for you," the woman said gently. Ada turned slowly, and when her eyes met his, the world stopped. She stood up, one hand instinctively covering her belly. Her lips parted, but no words came. Emeka stepped forward, eyes wide with emotion. "You left," he said. "I had to," she whispered. "Why?" "Because I was scared of destroying your life. Of becoming your weakness." He came closer. "You were never my weakness, Ada. You were the only thing that made me strong." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I'm carrying your child," she finally said. He reached for her hand, placed it gently on her stomach, and whispered, "Then I have 2 reasons to never let you go again." They stood there in silence, holding each other, while the sky turned golden above them. And in that moment, all the pain, the shame, the noise faded. All that remained was love. 3 days later, Ada returned to Lagos with Emeka by her side. This time, she didn't enter the mansion through the back gate like a maid. She stepped through the front door as the woman he loved. Mama Dora rushed forward, eyes wide. "Ada." Ada smiled shyly. "I'm back, Mama." The staff stood quietly, unsure of what to say. But Emeka raised his hand and spoke clearly. "Everyone, listen. Ada is not the maid anymore. She's my fiancée. She will be treated with respect." The room fell silent. Then, slowly, the cook began to clap. The guards joined. Even the driver nodded. Ada smiled through tears. That evening, Emeka brought out something she never expected, a small wooden box. He opened it slowly, revealing an expensive gold ring. "I don't have a script," he said, kneeling in front of her in the garden where she once sat and cried. "But I have a promise. To protect you. To stand by you. To never let anyone make you feel small again." Ada covered her mouth with one hand, her other resting on her round belly. "I love you, Emeka," she whispered. "I never stopped." He slipped the ring on her finger. "Then be mine. Forever." She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Yes. 1,000,000 times yes." They hugged, held, cried. And the garden, once full of sorrow, blossomed with joy. But not everyone was happy. Anita sat in her luxury apartment, watching the video on her tablet. The proposal had gone viral. Social media was flooded with love messages, hashtags, and comments praising the maid who won a billionaire's heart. Her lips twisted in anger. She picked up her phone. "Are you sure the story is solid?" she asked the reporter. "Yes," the man on the other end replied. "I've got documents. About her past. Things she's hiding. When the public sees it, everything will crash." Anita smiled coldly. "Good. Let's remind them where she really came from. Because in a world that loves fairy tales, there's always someone waiting to tear the ending apart." 2 days later, the storm returned. It started with a blog post. Then it spread like wildfire across gossip sites and social media. Fiancé of billionaire CEO hides criminal past. Former maid once accused of theft at previous job in Aba. Is Ada really who she claims to be? Ada stood frozen in the living room, holding her phone as the screen lit up with hateful comments. Her past, something she had buried and tried to forget, was now everywhere. She had been 17, working in a small boutique in Aba. One day, a customer's phone went missing. No proof, no camera footage, but because she was the only maid there, the owner blamed her. She was thrown out. Shamed. But she had never taken anything. Never. Emeka rushed home the moment he saw the news. He found Ada sitting on the floor, her hands shaking. "I didn't steal," she whispered. "I swear it, Emeka. I was innocent." He knelt beside her, lifted her chin. "Look at me. I believe you. But the world won't. I don't care about the world." Tears poured down her cheeks. "They'll say I trapped you. That I used a baby to hide my lies." Emeka stood, rage boiling in his chest. "I'll find who started this." Within hours, his legal team traced the source. A freelance reporter, paid anonymously. But through the bank trail, they found the sender. Anita. That night, Emeka called her. I warned you, she said coolly. You're making a fool of yourself, Emeka. No. I'm just not afraid of you anymore. You really think the world will accept her? I don't need the world's approval. I only need her heart. He hung up. The next morning, Emeka held a press conference not to defend, but to speak truth. Yes, Ada was once accused of theft. But there was no evidence. And no justice. That's the kind of system we live in, where poor girls are guilty until proven innocent. He looked straight into the cameras. She is not perfect. Neither am I. But I trust her. And I choose her. Social media turned again. This time, in Ada's favor. Women across the country shared similar stories, false accusations, injustice, shame. We believe Ada began to trend. And slowly, Ada began to heal. Because love, when protected, can survive anything. Even the lies of the past. The weeks that followed were like a sunrise after a long, dark night. The noise began to die down. The articles faded. The lies lost power. And Ada, she began to glow. Her belly grew rounder. Her steps slower. But her smile, genuine, peaceful, lit every room she walked into. She was no longer just the maid. She was Ada. The woman who had survived shame, fear, heartbreak, and still chose love. One morning, Emeka came into the bedroom holding 2 envelopes. One for you, he said. And one for me. Ada opened hers carefully. Her eyes widened. A university form, she whispered. He nodded. You once said you wanted to become a nurse. I want to help you finish that dream. Her voice caught in her throat. Even now. Especially now. She hugged him tightly. You keep choosing me. He smiled. Every single day. Later that afternoon, the mansion buzzed with laughter. Emeka's mother, who had once rejected Ada, arrived quietly and watched from a distance as Ada arranged baby clothes in the nursery. She cleared her throat. Ada turned slowly, unsure what to expect. I brought these, Mama said, lifting a small bag. Inside were handmade wrappers, a tiny anklet, and palm kernel oil for newborns. I used to think love had to follow rules, she said softly. But I watched you carry storms with grace. You made my son smile again. You made him human. Ada blinked back tears. I don't deserve your forgiveness, Mama said. Ada stepped forward and took her hands gently. Then let's start with peace. They hugged. And the room filled with something deeper than forgiveness, acceptance. A week later, Ada went into labor. The drive to the hospital was fast and tense. Emeka never let go of her hand. You're doing great, he kept saying. Tears streamed down her face from pain, fear, and overwhelming love. Hours later, the cries of a baby filled the room. A girl, the nurse said, smiling. Emeka held his daughter gently, eyes wet. She's perfect. Ada touched the baby's cheek and whispered, Welcome to the world, my angel. They named her Chimamanda, My God will not fail me. And in that quiet hospital room, with love in their arms and peace in their hearts, they finally exhaled. From maid, to mother, to queen of a home built not on money, but on love that chose to stay. 3 months after the birth of baby Chimamanda, the world had changed around Ada. Not because the noise outside had stopped, but because she no longer feared it. She walked proudly now, with her baby in one arm, and her dream in the other. Emeka had built her a small health center in the village of Umuchika named the Ada Care Center. A safe place where young girls, pregnant women, and struggling mothers could get medical help, education, and shelter. But he didn't stop there. One morning, he knelt beside her in front of the staff, in a simple garden near the clinic. He pulled out a new ring, this one woven with coral beads from her village, sitting beside a gold band. Ada, he said, voice steady, I didn't just fall in love with you. I became a better man because of you. Will you marry me, and never leave again? She smiled through tears. I already said yes the first time. Say it again. She laughed softly. Yes, Emeka. 1,000,000 times yes. The wedding took place under a giant mango tree in Umuchika. It wasn't the palace wedding bloggers expected. But it was beautiful. Women danced in colorful wrappers. The air was full of drums, jollof rice, palm wine, and laughter. Emeka wore a white senator outfit with gold embroidery. Ada wore a royal blue lace gown with a white scarf tied across her waist. Her daughter wore tiny beads and matching fabric. Even Mema Nkechi showed up. She sat quietly in the back, head low, but Ada walked to her, held her hand, and said, "You're still my family." No cameras were allowed. No press. Just love. And when the priest said, "You may kiss the bride," Emeka kissed Ada's forehead first. Because to him, she wasn't just beautiful, she was sacred. Later that year, Emeka and Ada launched a foundation called Second Chances. Its mission? To protect domestic workers, give scholarships to girls from villages, and help those falsely accused like Ada once was. Their story became a book. Then a film. Then a movement. But at home, away from the lights, they were just Ada and Emeka. Two souls who met at the edge of pain, and built a life full of light. Because love isn't about where you come from. It's about who stays. Even when the world tells you to run.